Hello, everyone. It's Phil Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is September 30th, 2022. Uh, Click on the subscribe button here in the lower right to subscribe to future episodes, and also click on the notification bell in the far upper right to be notified. If you click on that bell, an historian whom you do not know, but who is spreading false interpretations of the Civil War and Reconstruction history, will be cast out into the outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So go ahead and click that bell, and that'll act like a voodoo to cast him out or her out into the outer darkness. So let's do that, and then now move on to my presentation today, which is Biden should have phoned DeSantis. Now, I'll work in the Civil War angle here if you just give me a minute. All right, so let's get started. When Hurricane Ian was originally forecast to hit Tampa Bay, President Biden phoned the mayors of Tampa, St. Petersburg, and Clearwater while ignoring Florida's governor. His avoidance of Ron DeSantis was inexcusably petty. It revealed the hubris of the ruling elite. Biden put his trust in a forecast by experts, whereas even Florida crackers know that computerized models, while helpful, are not definitive. Anyone with experience knows that hurricane paths are hard to predict. That's why Biden did not phone the mayor of Fort Myers, where the Hurricane Ian actually made landfall, and the damages have been historic. Biden is a mean-spirited fool, but his elite handlers are even worse. Dominated by the influence of leftovers from the Obama era, they are like the flip side of the John Birch Society members of the 1950s. Consumed with paranoia over communism, Birch members suspected domestic communists to be everywhere, including under their beds. Similarly, today's Obama elite sees systemic racism everywhere, even though it does not exist. In truth, the only systemic racism remaining in America today is affirmative action, which is chiefly against white males. President Obama's 2 elections should have put the systemic racism into the systemic racism lie into the dustbin of history, considering that only 13% of America's population was Black at the time that Obama won his 2 elections. Notwithstanding that Hurricane Ian showed no favoritism for whites over Blacks, the politicians of Lee County, where Fort Myers is the seat, removed a monument for Robert E. Lee, for whom the county is named. Some argue that the county should even change its very name. Now, in the wake of Hurricane Ian, they have more important matters to consider. Barron's estimates Florida's Ian damages at $40 billion. Enormous as that amount is, it equals merely the first wave of donations America's taxpayers have given to the Ukraine, where Hunter Biden may have earlier peddled his dad's influence to a corrupt government. Think about it. Why are we giving so much money to a government that before the war with Russia was mostly ignored and thought to be corrupt? Now we give them all this money when clearly people here in the United States need it. Well, let Hurricane Ian's disregard for the race, sex, and ethnicity of its victims be a wake-up call. Systemic racism is not America's chief problem. Our biggest problem is the country's drift towards an oligarchy of ruling elites centered in the federal government. They falsely believe themselves to have discovered that thousands of prior generations wrongfully concluded there are only 2 sexes. In the real world, their so-called discovery is more a sign of a mass psychosis than a eureka moment of truth. It has led our society to acquiesce to the genital mutilation of children. Finally, Forgiveness of student loan debt is not merely unconstitutional, it contradicts common sense and is a ruinous immorality. As much as the Confederacy is condemned for slavery, her Constitution also emphasized states' rights. And today it is the states that are showing the leadership America needs. Tennessee, Alabama, and Louisiana are already sending professional hurricane recovery workers to Florida. Attorneys general in Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and South Carolina are presently the primary challengers to Biden's student loan forgiveness bribes for selective voters, which incidentally do favor blacks over whites. By sending small numbers of illegal immigrants to Washington, Chicago, New York, and Martha's Vineyard, Texas, Arizona, and Florida are unmasking the corruption of the Democrat Party for ignoring border integrity, chiefly to gain political power for themselves. Okay, as you can see, I'm quite worked up about this, but let me tell you, what we're seeing here in the change of our society is ruinous. To understand, I recommend this: The Dreadful Frauds, Critical Race Theory and Identity Politics. The book is $16 at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. If you want an autographed copy, email me. It'll be $20, but email me, Phil, PHIL_Leigh, LEIGH, at me.com. And that'll be $20, but I will cover the postage if you're here in the United States. This critical race theory, if it becomes the standard accepted interpretation of American history, there will be no Confederate monument standing anywhere in the United States. Now, I have seen people express their opinions against critical race theory, but one of the great weaknesses that I've seen of those that are vocal about it is when somebody that's favoring critical race theory asks them to define it, they can't define it. Come on, get this book, understand what this is, and then you can find it better. I'll repeat it. If critical race theory becomes the accepted interpretation of American history, there will be no Confederate monuments anywhere. There will be no street names for Confederates. Okay, that's our show for today, and thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time.